I got to hit our DraftKings Sportsbook segment. Lots of stuff. Can't stop talking enough about the Western Conference and the playoff race. You look at the standings right now. Minnesota won last night, 16 losses. Clippers and Oklahoma City both with 17 losses. Denver with 18 losses. Little bit of separation then. Phoenix and New Orleans with 22 losses. They're in 5th and 6th. Just outside of the top 6 is Dallas and Sacramento with 23. And guess who's rising in the standings right now? The Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers. Golden State with 25 losses. And the Lakers with 26. They're right there in the hunt, even just 3 games back for Golden State in the loss column before being in that top 6, and the Lakers 4 games back in the loss column from being in the top 6. How are they getting it done right now? It's really interesting. I've said this all season long with regards to the LA Lakers. Can they defend at a high level, and can they shoot threes? That is what would make them a really good basketball team. They're 5-1 in their last 6. D'Angelo Russell with 22 points a game, shooting 43% from 3 on almost 10 attempts. Austin Reeves at 20 a game, shooting 46% from 3 over the last 6. As a team, they are 7th in the NBA, shooting the absolute you-know-what out of the ball at 39.1%. Number 5 offense, number 8 defense. That is the winning formula. Making threes at a high level and defending. One thing to note, I wanted to, before we get to the Warriors, one thing to note. So for the season, the Lakers have the 19th best offense and the 14th best defense at 114.6. That's their defensive rating. And I saw something recently where a pundit said that Anthony Davis should be player of the year, defensive player of the year. And it's crazy, but the Lakers have actually defended better with Anthony Davis on the bench than they have with him on the court. Just a fascinating random statistic I came across this morning. His defensive rating is almost a point worse than their team rating. Hard to win defensive player of the year if that's the case. With the Warriors, you look at the Warriors during their dynasty, during their 8-year run, when they had elite basketball teams. How did they get it done? Everybody talks about the offense. Everybody talks about the shooting. They always had an elite defense. They've won 5 in a row over the last 5 games. Number 1 defense in the league. You look now with Draymond Green back, playing center in the starting lineup. You got Wiggins and Kuminga on the wing. Kuminga, who we've touched on a bunch, who I've touched on a bunch on broadcast, playing out of his mind, the best basketball of his young career so far. That lineup, that new starting lineup with Steph, Klay, Wiggins, Kuminga, Green, they've got a defensive rating. It's the second most used lineup for the Golden State Warriors. They've got a defensive rating of 95.8. Would be far and away the best defense in the NBA, right? So that, to me, is the key for them. Can they defend at an elite level? And over the last 5 games, they have done that. Last team I want to touch on a little bit in depth is just the Phoenix Suns, who, since that Christmas Day loss to the Dallas Mavericks, are 18-7. They've got the second best offense over the last 25 games, the 9th best defense. Now, Bradley Beal, hamstring injury last night. We don't know how much time he will miss. The numbers with Beal in the lineup, Durant, Beal, Nurkic, Booker, Allen, that group, 130 offensive rating. Just, you cannot defend them because you cannot put 2 on the ball. Too much shooting. Now you sub out Eric Gordon for Bradley Beal, and that group also has great numbers. Their defensive rating is 102.7. And if you look, those are the first and second most used lineups for the Phoenix Suns. So when you talk about shortening the playoff rotation, the top 6 for the Phoenix Suns are very formidable. They absolutely should still be considered a Western Conference championship contender. On DraftKings Sportsbook, you look at the odds right now. Denver and the Clippers have the 2 lowest odds. Denver at plus 225, Clippers at plus 235. Then it's Phoenix at plus 750, Minnesota at plus 800. Everyone else in that top 10 over 1,000. OKC, I think a little disrespected here. 5th best odds at plus 1,100. Just a fascinating conference down the stretch. Couple things to just note about some of these teams that I didn't go in depth on. And we're going to spend some time, by the way, on Minnesota, particularly in the coming weeks coming out of All-Star break. And what they're doing both offensively and defensively, and maybe some unsung heroes that they have as to why they've been so successful this year. So I will spend some time on Minnesota in the coming weeks, but I do want to note two things. Watch New Orleans and watch them continue to unleash Point Zion. Their half-court offense functions so much better when Zion brings the basketball up and they have shooters around him. Really fascinating. We saw when he was at his best, I think his best season was the year that I was there, my second year there, Stan Van Gundy's year. We realized about 8 to 10 games into the season, hey, let's just have Zion bring the ball up and set screens for him with guards, ghost screens, slip screens, try to get mismatches, try to get two on the ball, play out of that. We had a lot of success, and New Orleans is having success with that. Second team, I know Tim and I mentioned this on Monday in the Old Man and the Three Things, but the Dallas Mavericks with PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, all of a sudden you look at their team, if they're healthy, they have a pretty damn good playoff rotation. And they have two absolute stars in Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. And I feel like for the first time, really, in the Luka era, they have a roster and the pieces around him that make a lot of sense. So Dallas Mavericks, team to watch coming out of All-Star break. Again, all these numbers presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. This has been the DraftKings Sportsbook segment. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code JJ. New customers who deposit $5 or more can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000 back in a bonus bet if your first bet loses. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. One no-sweat bet per new customer. Issued as one bonus bet based on amount of initial losing bet. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/promos for deposit, wagering, and eligibility restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.